It's my job to talk about the Sacramento Kings for a living, but tonight I'm genuinely at a loss for words after this Kings overtime win in Phoenix, not because I don't know what to talk about, just because there's too much to talk about, from the clutch combo of De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan and their massive fourth quarter and overtime performances. Kevin Huerter's big game overall, winning the Defensive Player of the Game crown. Mike Brown getting his 100th win as a Sacramento Kings head coach. Keegan Murray's clutch tip-in and then bogus foul call at the end of the fourth quarter. Where do I even start? We'll figure it out together right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter at ABC 10 News in Sacramento. I'm back here in the ABC 10 studios, and what a fun roller coaster of a basketball game that we witnessed tonight. Sunday is a day for rest, according to the Bible and certain religions that you might believe in. It's the day that we all take a breath and prepare for the week. But there was no breathing during tonight's Kings win over the Phoenix Suns. Man, so much to talk about from this game. And I feel like I have to give a disclaimer, right? The order in which I talk about things, which I'm still figuring out this order in my head and on the paper in front of me. The order in which I talk about different players or events or things in this game is not ranked in any kind of order of importance, right? Because there are certain guys that were monumental in tonight's performance that I might not get to till like 20 minutes in. Honestly, there's just so much to talk about from this Kings win. A phenomenal fight, a phenomenal performance from the Sacramento Kings. Of course, some big areas of growth that this Kings team needs to deal with as well. But this is just a very gritty, hard-fought overtime win in Phoenix, handing the Suns just their second loss of the season. The Suns are 8-2. Now, yes, the Suns were without Kevin Durant tonight. I'm not using that as any kind of way to undermine the Sacramento Kings. And I know some people are going to go, yeah, the Kings beat the Suns, but Kevin Durant didn't play. If they want to, let them say that. Who cares? Who cares? Because this was a brutal, hard-fought battle. And in the end, the Sacramento Kings needed their superstars to carry them through. And that is what they got. The clutch combo is what I call them. De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan. No idea if you like that name. No idea if it'll stick. I'll say it because I like it. The clutch combo. They were monstrous in the fourth quarter and overtime. I would say they were monstrous for the game, but that really wasn't the case because both guys were struggling, especially De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox was having a brutal game. And it's going to be hard for the Sacramento Kings to win when both De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan are struggling. At the end of the third quarter, DeMar and De'Aaron were a combined 9 of 30 from the field. Your clutch combo, your big two, your two stars, were shooting less than 33% from the field at the end of the third quarter. In the fourth quarter and overtime, they scored a combined 36 points on 15 of 18 shooting. When the game was on the line and when the Sacramento Kings fell behind by 11 points early on in the fourth quarter, DeMar DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox came alive. Really, it was DeMar DeRozan in the fourth quarter. DeMar had 16 points, 6 of 7 shooting from the field, 1 of 1 from three-point range. Yep, once again, DeMar hit another big three-pointer in the fourth quarter. He also went 3 of 4 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter. De'Aaron Fox in the fourth quarter only had 4 points, went 2 of 3 shooting from the field, but did have 3 rebounds in the fourth quarter. So DeMar pretty much took over in that fourth quarter to give the Sacramento Kings a chance to win this game. This game goes to overtime. We'll talk about how we got there in a second. And both DeMar and De'Aaron score 8 points each. They scored 16 points between the two of them in overtime. The Suns as a whole only scored 7. So both Fox and DeRozan outscored the entire Phoenix Suns team in overtime. And just because Kevin Durant wasn't playing doesn't mean Devin Booker wasn't playing, doesn't mean Bradley Beal wasn't playing. There were still some stars on that Phoenix team. And in overtime, when it mattered most, both Fox and DeRozan outperformed all of them. Huge step up from those two. De'Aaron Fox, 8 points, 4 of 5 shooting from the field in OT. DeRozan, 8 points, 3 of 3 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line in OT. For the game, DeMar DeRozan had 34 points, 14 of 25 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, played 43 minutes tonight. This is night one of a back-to-back. They play in San Antonio tomorrow night, so we'll see how tired their legs are. De'Aaron Fox tonight, 21 points, 10 of 23 from the field. Again, he had a really rough shooting night tonight, but did have 11 rebounds. Yeah, that's your point guard. 11 rebounds, 8 assists, played 41 minutes tonight. That is everything. Everything. Monty McNair, Mike Brown, Jay Triano, Sacramento Kings fans, NBA fans, basketball fans, period. That's everything you dreamed of in a Fox and DeRozan combo. Well, maybe it was a nightmare to Phoenix Suns fans and NBA fans in Phoenix. But this is everything you could have hoped for out of the two most clutch players in the NBA. Or two, certainly if we don't want to give them that title, which I think we should, but if we don't want to, because I think Steph Curry won Clutch Player of the Year last year. DeRozan was the runner-up. Fox beat DeRozan for Clutch Player of the Year 2 years ago in the first year of that award. Two of the most clutch players in the league. Is that good enough? You know what? Forget it. I'm just going to say it. The two most clutch players in the NBA on the same team. And they combined stepped up in a massive way for Sacramento to help win this game in the fourth quarter and overtime. 127-118, the final score, by the way. But I want to talk about Keegan Murray, too, because he is one of a couple of players that are going to be overshadowed by the performance of Fox and DeRozan down the stretch. But Keegan Murray, man, his offensive rebound tip-in to put the Sacramento Kings up 1 very, very late in this game was fan-freaking-tastic, right? Comes flying in, tips it in off of I think it was DeMar DeRozan miss. Like, Keegan has become, pun intended, like the king of offensive rebounding for this Kings team. Now, to be fair, he only had 1 offensive rebound tonight, but it was massive when it happened, right? The Kings absolutely needed it. Came flying in for that tip-in. He has embraced that offensive rebound challenge. We've talked about it a bunch over these first 10 games of the season. He has embraced that challenge, clearly enjoys doing it, and tonight it paid off in a major way. Tonight, as a whole, he had 14 points, 5 of 11 from the field, 14 rebounds, 5 double-doubles. I think it's 5. 5 double-doubles already this season for Keegan Murray. Just a tremendous start to this season. He has stepped up in such a major way for the Kings rebounding-wise. Really, a lot of guys stepped up rebounding the basketball tonight. We're going to talk about a number of them as we go through this performance. But we do want to talk, I won't allow any slander to go Keegan Murray's way for his foul that allowed the Suns to tie the game on the inbound on that last possession of the fourth quarter. I won't allow it. Because what the correct call should have been there, and go back and watch it, that the amount of time they spent looking at it, you can't tell me that nobody saw the blatant illegal screen by Grayson Allen on that play. Grayson Allen not just setting the screen with his hip out, which is illegal. By the way, Domantas Sabonis got called for that on the other end of the floor earlier in the game, so Sabonis can't do it, but Grayson Allen apparently can. Not only is his hip out to create contact, his elbow is out too. He is the one initiating that contact on Keegan Murray. He also initiates that contact on Devin Booker, who Keegan Murray was trying to catch up to. Now, if you want to say that, yes, there was contact and maybe some grabbing between Keegan and Devin Booker when he goes around that screen, that's fine. Keegan is doing that to fight through the illegal screen in the first place. That was a terrible inbound violation call. And unfortunately, on an inbound violation, what you get is you get a free throw and you get possession back. So, of course, They step up to the line. Devin Booker, I think it was Booker, steps up to the line, hits the free throw, ties the game. Thank God he missed that Hail Mary kind of leaner corner three. Really well defended by Domantas Sabonis without fouling, by the way. This game goes to overtime. But I'm not going to say it shouldn't have, because we have no idea how that possession would have played out had that bogus foul not been called, but it was a bogus foul. And thank God the Kings won this game, because I was prepared to rant about that for 8 straight freaking minutes. That's a offensive foul, illegal screen on Grayson Allen. If you don't want to call it and let them play through it because it's a clutch moment, I'm totally fine with that. Then don't freaking call the foul on Keegan Murray, when in reality, it didn't make that big of a difference on the freaking inbound. And we saw Mike Brown's reaction. He clapped initially because we all thought it was a turnover. And then he hears the late whistle, and he turns and goes to the scorer's table, head down, shaking his head. I guarantee you that wasn't frustration at Keegan Murray. That was frustration at that foul call. It's a stupid, silly foul call, and thankfully it didn't come back to kill the Kings. Now, an area with Keegan Murray that I will be critical is his three-point shooting. Tonight he was 2 of 6, 33%. Not terrible. It's actually an improvement on his season percentage so far. He's shooting less than 30% from three-point range to start this season. This is a team-wide issue, and once again tonight, it wasn't great for the Kings. They went 11 of 27, or 37, 29% from three-point range. After hitting only 3 threes the last game against the Clippers, hitting 11 felt like the floodgates had finally opened. But the Kings, what I like is that the Kings got back to a higher volume of three-point shots. No, they weren't falling at the rate that the Kings expect them or want them to, and thankfully it didn't kill them. But Keegan Murray needs to be one of those guys to really step up, start knocking down those shots, and carry the Kings out of this shooting slump to start the season, because he has not been good enough from the perimeter. He's been great in so many other areas, which I've given him credit for, but I got to also talk about the bad or the struggles, and that three-point shooting has been tough for him to start the season. That being said, the 2 threes that he hit were really big threes for the Kings. One came off of a Kevin Huerter steal. It was a 3 in transition that was beautiful. The other one was a corner 3 in the fourth quarter to help the Kings cut into that 11-point lead that the Suns built. So many more guys to talk about. Want to show some love to Trey Lyles. We got to talk about Malik Monk's sprained ankle injury and what that means for the second unit. Got to talk about Kevin Huerter as well. Mike Brown, his 100th win. So much to get to here on this episode of Locked On Kings. Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast was also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book where you can tackle all of the NFL action this season. And boy, what a crazy Sunday it was in the NFL, right? From Jake Moody's game winner for the San Francisco 49ers to, I don't know if you caught that Sunday night football game, the comeback for the Detroit Lions and their game-winning field goal. Tonight would have been a great night for you to make some money and have some fun on FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets on FanDuel if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL. Of course, NBA action is there as well, all in one place. So when you get that hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I'm being very intentional about not waiting till later in the show to talk about Trey Lyles. And again, disclaimer at the beginning, this is not the order in which I'm talking about players and certain things from this game is not in ranking of performance or not in ranking of like which was better and which wasn't, right? Because many of you are going to go talking about Trey Lyles before talking about Kevin Huerter tonight is crazy. Trey Lyles tonight, I wouldn't even say he had that good of a game, right? 8 points, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from three-point range. Did have 6 rebounds, which was really big for this team, and had a block. Look, Trey's three-pointer and block both came in the fourth quarter. A big 3 to also help the Kings cut into that lead, and we saw after he hit that 3, he even looked up to the heavens like, thank God I finally made one. Trey has had a really rough start to this season shooting the basketball. And then he had a big block in the fourth quarter too to help the Kings get a stop, which ultimately helped them come back and take the lead in that fourth quarter. Here's why I want to talk about Trey Lyles who also had 6 points in the fourth quarter, by the way. I want to emphasize this because while, again, he did not have that good or certainly not a great performance, his best and biggest moments came when you absolutely needed them. Off of the bench, you were dealing with foul trouble to some of your top players, and you were missing your sixth man in Malik Monk, who had gone down with his injury at this point. Trey Lyles steps up, is clearly struggling, having a very rough start to the season after missing all of preseason and all of training camp with his groin injury. He's been going through it, and he steps up and gives you some big moments. Like, that's everything you can ask for out of a guy that's working through a ridiculously tough slump to start the season. Does it forgive him of all the struggles that he's made and erase all of the struggles to start this season and put him in good graces of everybody? No, it doesn't. But we got to give credit to the guy for fighting, battling through, and here he is in big moments, stepping up and playing a noticeable, significant part in the Sacramento Kings winning this game. That's genuinely all you can ask out of the guy. And to be quite honest with you, like, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him for fighting through it. I'm proud of him for staying active, staying aggressive. When he took that three, he was, at that time, I think he was like 1 of 4 or 1 of 5. Like, he was not shooting the ball well. Takes that three in the corner, no hesitation, and he drains it, right? Like, that's what you want to see out of a guy that's struggling. Keep shooting it with confidence, because when it goes in, it could be the difference. Tonight, it was a significant difference. So shout out to Trey Lyles and how hard he's been working to get through this rough start to the season. Mentioned Malik Monk. We got to talk about the bad news for Malik Monk. The Kings are really going to need Trey Lyles. The Kings are going to need a lot of guys to step up if Malik Monk is going to miss any sort of extended period of time. Stepped on the foot of it was Mason Plumlee. Stepped on the foot of Mason Plumlee in the second quarter. And if you haven't seen the video, it's not like terribly squeamishy bad, nothing like that. But he rolls it. He rolls it pretty good. And you can see him down in some significant pain. Got up, was able to leave the court on his own power, but I don't even know how much I would say that, because he ran to the locker room. He could not put weight on it. He did not look great. So we're waiting for any kind of update on how significant the damage is. We were told it was a sprained ankle. So I think if it was worse than that, we would know. We would be told. Now, there's 3 levels of sprained ankle grading. Grade 1 is like a very minor, mild sprained ankle. That's probably the most common you see. Grade 2 is a little more severe. That's where we're talking about missing a handful of weeks. Grade 3 is like barely didn't tear things, or things got pretty damaged, and hopefully we don't deal with that. If you remember, De'Aaron Fox had a grade 3 ankle sprain earlier on in his career. He was able to somehow battle back from that way quicker than expected, but we certainly hope that's not the case for Malik Monk. But regardless, I'm not expecting at all Malik Monk will be available and ready to play tomorrow night in San Antonio. I would be beyond shocked if he plays tomorrow night, so that hurts for that game. And if he misses a handful of games, regardless of how much time he misses, the Sacramento Kings are going to need to step up and prepare for it, right? Trey Lyles needs to play better. Everybody coming in off the bench. Doug McDermott got some minutes tonight. Doug McDermott needs to play better. Keon Ellis, I think, needs to step up in a major way as now kind of that sixth man replacing Malik Monk in that second unit. And then, of course, you're going to be looking at your top guys as well, right? Guys that have already been playing heavy minutes to start this season. I don't know if the minutes are going to be heavier now because Malik Monk is out, but De'Aaron's got to step up. DeMar's got to step up. Kevin Huerter, I think, is going to have to significantly step up in a lot of ways to make up for the loss of Malik Monk. The Kings are in a better position now than they were last season when Malik Monk went down and was out the remainder of the season, right? Kings are in a much better position now simply because DeMar DeRozan is here, but that second unit has been significantly struggling, to say the least, over these first 10 games of the season. And Malik is the best part of that second unit. So those are some big, tough shoes to fill. And depending upon how much time Malik is out, the Kings are going to have to figure that out and hopefully be able to overcome that. Kevin Huerter, though, I mean, just like the podcast, I don't know where to start when talking about Kevin Huerter. I guess I'll start with his numbers. 17 points, 6 of 12 from the field, 5 of 9 from three-point range, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. That's Kevin Huerter's stat line. 4 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, 1 block, all added on to the 5 3-pointers that he hit for you. The Kings have been struggling badly from three-point range this season. Once again, struggling from three-point range tonight. Fox, DeRozan, terrible to start this game. Kevin Huerter carried them through that. He is not the hero that we're going to lead with on Locked On Kings. He's not the guy whose name is going to be on the headlines on ESPN.com or NBA.com's write-up of this game. But my God, is he the hero in that locker room, because he carried the load and took on the responsibility for Sacramento, coming off of a tough game against the Clippers, by the way. Did not play well against the Clippers. Comes in tonight, is knocking down shots when really nobody else is for the Kings, and giving the Kings time, buying them time, keeping them close, keeping them in it, so that when Fox and DeRozan did wake up, it could be when this team needed them to close this one out. But Kevin Huerter tonight was sensational. He won the Defensive Player of the Game crown. He did foul out. I don't even care. He fouled out because he was playing physical defense. I thought the defense Kevin Huerter was playing was sensational, and a lot of it was against Devin Booker. I thought he played fantastic defense. Made mistakes? Sure, of course he did. But you mean to tell me you got 3 steals and 1? When Kevin Huerter's giving you 3 steals and 1 block, I'm sure as hell not going to talk about the mistakes that he made on defense. He did his freaking job. He exceeded expectations, and he still knocked down the threes that you needed in this game. Kevin Huerter has been awesome. Awesome to start the season, coming back from that injury. Could not be happier for him and could not be more proud of him. Also very proud of Mike Brown for his accomplishment, his milestone that he reached tonight for the Kings. He joins a very elite class of Sacramento Kings coaches. We'll talk about that. Plus, 10 games into the season, it's time for a new thing I'm doing this season, 10-game progress reports. Every 10 games, we're going to look at how that 10-game stretch went for the Sacramento Kings. This is our first 10 games of this new team. Kings went 6-4. We'll look at the numbers and break this down and talk about this start to the season for Sacramento. That's all still coming on Locked On Kings. Like I said at the top of the show, today's episode of Locked On Kings is brought to you by Gametime. This is the app that you need to be using to buy your tickets, especially if they're Sacramento Kings tickets, right? You'll get incredible deals on Kings tickets. I got a pair of tickets for my wife and my sister-in-law through Gametime to go to the Clipper game. Now, the game itself didn't end up being pretty good, but the deal they got was unbelievable. And you can get great deals for Sacramento Kings tickets on Gametime. Any sporting event, if you're going to a 49ers game at Levi Stadium, check out Gametime first before you check out anywhere else. You can get tickets to concerts, theatrical productions, comedy shows, whatever it is, Gametime has those for you. And the reason why I talk so confidently about the deals that you get on Gametime is because Gametime has their lowest price guarantee, to where if you find the same tickets on a different site for cheaper, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. That's how confident they are in their prices. Their all-in pricing is such a simple, easy feature, but so important to any of you who have purchased tickets before, right? How many times have you clicked on seats? It's the price point you want. You get to that final screen, that final checkout screen right after you've even entered all your payment information, and it shows you another $20 of convenience fees or whatever the hell that they add on top of that quite honestly sometimes changes your mind about going to the event or getting those tickets in the first place. You don't have to worry about that on Gametime. Their all-in pricing shows you exactly what the price of each seat is going to be at the very start of the process, so you know and you're not surprised. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Congratulations to Sacramento Kings head coach Mike Brown. Tonight was his 100th win with the Sacramento Kings. Of course, he's had a boatload of more wins in his career, but 100 wins with the Sacramento Kings, and it took him 2 seasons and 10 games to do it. Not a lot of time at all. Mike Brown joins Rick Adelman and Gary St. Jean as the only coaches in Kings history to get 100 wins. That's pretty phenomenal. That's pretty elite class of Sacramento Kings coaches to be lumped into. So congratulations to Mike Brown on that accomplishment. It just speaks to how he has come in and done such a tremendous job of turning this organization around. Here's to hundreds and hundreds more, Mike, hopefully here in Sacktown. But let's talk about these last 10 games, the 10-game progress reporting. And this is something that I'm going to be trying to do every 10 games this season. And it's not a progress report for the entire season. It's just in these 10-game blocks. Of course, this time, 10 games is all we have to go off of to start this season. But over these 10 games, Sacramento Kings are 6-4. 6 of these 10 games were on the road. Now, the Kings at home went, I think, 2-2, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to think. I think it was 2-2. They lost to Minnesota, they lost to the Clippers, they beat Portland, and they beat the Raptors. So yes, 2-2 at home. That number certainly could be better. You want them to be above 500 at home, but getting business handled on the road is great to see, including that really successful 3-1 road trip that they had early on in the season. The Kings are 6th in the NBA in points per game, so the offense is significantly better. 7th in the NBA in offensive rating. Remember, this is all with their three-point shooting being 29th in the NBA. Their three-point shooting has been horrendous. Needs to be cleaned up, needs to be fixed. But if it does, assuming it will, it's easy to see the Sacramento Kings certainly getting into top 5 in points per game and maybe even flirting with that top 3 or even number 1 spot if that three-point shot can start waking up. Defensively, though, while it's felt like the Kings have been bad at times, overall, the Kings are 12th in the NBA in defensive rating. So top half of the league in defensive rating. That's really encouraging for this team. And what's super encouraging for this team, and I would be surprised if this held out throughout the entire season, but to go from last, dead last in the NBA to after 10 games, they are first in the NBA in free throw shooting as a team. That's pretty incredible. They're also 8th in the NBA in steals, so doing a really good job there. DeMar DeRozan, no surprise. Home run pickup. Certainly not a lateral move like some dweebs were saying that he was when the Kings went out and got him. Nobody's talking about that 2031 pick swap with San Antonio unless it's brought up in a sarcastic way. DeMar DeRozan, in his 10 games with the Sacramento Kings, 9 of them, he scored 20 or more points, including setting the franchise record for 8 straight to start the season. 6 games with 25 or more points, and a couple of games where he scored 30 or more points, including tonight's 34-point performance in that overtime win. De'Aaron Fox, he's had some highs and some lows, right? He is clearly battling through a hand injury on his shooting hand. Like, he's clearly going through it. It is bothering him. And he's trying to fight through and play through it. On one extent, I want to give him credit for that. On the other extent, if you're playing, you have expectations. You need to step up. And while De'Aaron struggled a whole hell of a lot for the most of tonight, he stepped up in a big way, especially in overtime. Got to give him credit for that, regardless of the status of his hand or not. He is, in fact, one of the best defenders in the league. Truth be told. Look at the numbers. Coming into tonight, opponents that he has guarded are shooting 34.5% from the field. That is number 1 in the NBA, and that's minimum 100 attempts by an opponent. So in over 100 shot attempts against De'Aaron Fox, on the guy that De'Aaron Fox was guarding, 34.5% is the lowest percentage in the NBA. De'Aaron Fox, you don't have to, based off that number, you don't have to call him the best defensive guard in the NBA if you don't want to. You don't have to. But that number is pretty incredible for your point guard. And of course, he has his scoring responsibilities. He's also, I think, doing a good job doing the other things as well. He's been distributing the ball well. I know he's been struggling taking care of the basketball. Needs to figure and clean that out. Doing a good job rebounding the basketball. Again, he had 11 rebounds tonight. He's been great. Domantas Sabonis back to his ways. 9 double-doubles, 3 triple-doubles. We already talked about the tremendous development for Keegan Murray, and hopefully that three-point shot can start to catch up. Kevin Huerter has re-secured that starting 2 spot. It was a big conversation in training camp, right? A big conversation on this show, and I even was a little skeptical when Mike named Kevin Huerter the starter over Keon Ellis. I'm not skeptical anymore. That's Kevin Huerter's spot. He's earned it back. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Not that Keon Ellis is doing anything wrong or playing poorly. Kevin Huerter is playing excellent. He's doing a great job at that spot. He's re-secured it, and that's a great thing for the Sacramento Kings. And then, of course, like we've talked about, this Kings bench, the second unit, really bad to start this season. They need to clean that up. They need a lot of help, or Monte McNair is going to have to. He probably can't wait too many more 10-game progress reports before upgrading that if this is the way it's going to be for the entire season, even before Malik Monk got this injury. So I'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts on these first 10 games. Of course, your thoughts on this huge Kings win in Phoenix in overtime. Your thoughts on the clutch combos performance, Kevin Huerter's performance, whatever you want to talk about, let it fly. Reach out to me on Twitter at MattGeorgeSack. You can email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com, or, of course, leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Appreciate your support. Let's enjoy this one because it's back to work tomorrow. The Kings taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Our first glimpse at Harrison Barnes on the other side. So we'll see if HB has a revenge game in mind for the Kings, and we'll see how much this overtime win and those heavy minutes have an impact, if at all, on that game. Looking forward to that. I'll be with you for another post-game Locked On Kings podcast. Can't wait to see you then. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.